The human starship Aurora's light drifted silently through the deep void. Its polished silver hull reflected distant suns like scattered jewels. Inside the ship, life was busy and loud. Engineers checked systems, officers studied maps, and pilots spoke to each other through headsets. Among them was Lieutenant Marcus Hale, a young human engineer with steady hands and an observant mind. Marcus loved machines. He enjoyed the way wires and circuits answered him when people sometimes did not. But this mission was different. It was not just a routine patrol. The Aurora's light was chosen to join an interstellar alliance, a gathering of alien civilizations, working together for peace. For humans, this was new. They were young compared to the other species, but bold enough to take a seat at the table. Marcus was proud but nervous. Meeting aliens was one thing. Working with them side by side was another. He had heard the stories, creatures with strange bodies, strange voices, and stranger minds. Would they even trust humans? Would they look down on them? He got his answer the first time he saw Commander Lyra. She entered the engineering deck one calm evening. The air seemed to grow still the moment she stepped inside. Lyra belonged to the Aelari, a species known across the stars for their grace and intelligence. She was taller than Marcus, her frame slim yet strong, her movement smooth like flowing water. Her skin glimmered faintly, almost like moonlight against stone, and her eyes carried a pale silver glow. She wore her people's diplomatic robes, long, white, edged with glowing blue threads that shifted like starlight. Marcus froze when she looked at him. Those silver eyes seemed to see through steel, through wires, through walls, straight into him. "Lieutenant Hale," she said in a calm, melodic voice. "I was told you keep this ship running." He blinked, surprised she even knew his name. Well, I try my best, Commander." She tilted her head slightly, a small smile ghosting her lips. It was rare to see an Aelari smile, the humans had been told. Machines respond to care. Not everyone understands that. But you do. Marcus felt his heart beat faster. He was used to being invisible, the man in the background fixing what others broke. Yet here was one of the most respected aliens in the Alliance, speaking to him as if his work mattered. That night, he could not stop thinking about her voice. Days turned into weeks. Marcus often found Lyra visiting engineering, not for official checks but to talk. She asked endless questions about humans, how they survived on a world full of storms, why they built cities that touched the sky, why they wrote stories filled with love and longing. "Your people," Lyra said one day while walking beside him, "are strange. You are young in the galaxy, yet you burn with emotions as if each day were your last." Marcus chuckled nervously. "We don't really know how to be calm all the time. I guess that makes us different." She studied him carefully, as if memorizing his every word. "Different is not weakness, it is interesting." Marcus tried not to show how much that single word, interesting, meant to him. One mission tested their growing bond. The Aurora's light was docked at a neutral station when a power surge nearly shut down the entire bay. Sparks flew, alarms screamed, and docking clamps jammed. Marcus rushed into the smoke-filled corridor, tools in hand, determined to fix it before the ship was damaged. But someone else was already there, Lyra. She had no tools, only her sharp mind. Together they worked in perfect rhythm, Marcus crawling under panels, Lyra reading out power readings in her smooth voice, her glowing fingers tracing strange alien symbols on the console. At one point, when a cable sparked dangerously close, Lyra pulled Marcus back with surprising strength. He stared at her, wide-eyed, his chest heaving. She simply said, "You are brave, but reckless. And you're calm, but fearless," Marcus answered before he could stop himself. For a moment, their eyes locked in the flashing red light, then the alarm stopped. The system hummed back to life. They had saved the ship together. From that day, Whispers began to spread among the crew. Humans and aliens noticed the way Marcus and Lyra often walked side by side, how their conversations lasted longer than official duties required. Some joked, others simply smiled, but Marcus kept his secret locked inside. At night, when the ship sailed through the endless dark, Marcus would sit at the viewport, staring at the stars. He thought of Lyra, her calm voice, her glowing eyes, the way she listened to his stories about Earth with genuine curiosity. He wanted to tell her the truth, that she wasn't just interesting, that she was everything he never thought he would find in the cold silence of space, but fear held him back. She was an Alari commander, respected across the Alliance. He was just a human engineer. What chance did he have? And yet, he could not deny the hope that flickered inside him, a hope that maybe, just maybe, she saw him not only as an ally, not only as a friend, but as something more. The first part of their story ended one quiet evening. Lyra found him alone in the observation deck, staring at Earth's distant sun glowing faintly among the stars. She stood beside him silent for a while, then asked softly, "Tell me, Marcus, why do humans always look at the stars as if searching for something?" He hesitated, then whispered, "Because maybe what we're looking for is out there, waiting." Lyra's silver eyes softened. She said nothing, but for the first time Marcus thought he saw something hidden in them, something warmer than logic, something that glowed brighter than duty. He didn't know it yet, but his life was about to change forever. Life aboard the Aurora's Light moved like the steady hum of its engines. For most crew members, days were filled with duties, meals, and the occasional rest. For Marcus Hale, however, every day seemed brighter because of one presence, Commander Lyra. He told himself it was nothing unusual. She was part of the diplomatic team. She often needed to visit engineering to check systems or understand human technology. But deep inside, Marcus knew it was more than duty. She came often, sometimes without reason, her silver eyes searching the engine room as if it carried secrets she wanted to learn. One afternoon, Marcus was tightening a coolant valve when Lyra appeared silently behind him. "You humans make too much noise when you work," she said, her tone soft but amused. Marcus looked up, startled. "Noise? These tools are the quiet ones. You should hear the old Earth factories." She leaned closer, curious. "Factories?" He wiped his hands and explained. "Big buildings filled with machines, smoke, and people. They made cars, ships, everything. Loud, dirty, but alive." Lyra tilted her head thoughtfully. "Strange. The Alari build in silence. We see harmony and stillness." Marcus smiled. "For us, the noise means progress. It means we're building something better." For a long moment she said nothing, only studied him. Then to his surprise, her lips curved slightly. "Perhaps noise is not always chaos. Perhaps it is music of a different kind." Marcus laughed softly. He loved the way she twisted human ideas into something new. Over the next weeks, their bond grew in small, unplanned moments. When a navigation error sent the ship drifting close to a debris field, Marcus and Lyra worked side by side, her calm, guiding voice steadying his quick hands. When an officer mocked human impulsiveness, during a meal, Lyra's silver eyes flashed and she defended Marcus. "Impulsiveness is also courage," she said firmly, silencing the room. When Marcus spoke of Earth's oceans, deserts, and forests, Lyra listened as if he was reciting poetry. She even asked him to draw Earth's mountains on a data pad, and, though his sketch was clumsy, she studied it like a treasure. It wasn't only duty anymore. It was something deeper, unspoken. Their connection was tested during a mission on Vera Station, a neutral hub at the edge of Alliance space. The Aurora's Light had docked for trade talks, but trouble soon broke out. A malfunction in the station's reactors triggered an emergency shutdown, threatening to tear the station apart. Panic spread among the crew and civilians. Marcus was ordered to join the repair team. He raced into the reactor chamber, heat shimmering through the air, alarms blaring. Wires hissed like snakes ready to strike. To his surprise, Lyra was already there, standing among the chaos. "Commander, this is dangerous," Marcus shouted over the alarms. She turned, calm as always. "You will need help." He hesitated, then nodded. Together they worked, Marcus crawling into tight spaces, reconnecting wires, while Lyra read power flows and redirected energy with her knowledge of alien systems. At one moment, a plasma conduit burst open, spilling sparks. Marcus lunged forward, his hands moving faster than thought. The heat seared his gloves, but he managed to twist the valve shut. When he stumbled back, Lyra grabbed his arm, steadying him. Her cool fingers pressed against his burned gloves. Her eyes glowed with concern. "Foolish human," she whispered. "You risk too much." Marcus grinned weakly. "And you stayed when you didn't have to." For a heartbeat, the alarms and smoke faded around them. It was just the two of them, bound not by duty but by something deeper. Then the reactor hummed steadily. The crisis was over. The station was saved. And their teamwork became the talk of the crew. Back aboard the Aurora's light, the whispers grew louder. Humans and aliens alike noticed how often the engineer and the commander stood side by side, how their eyes lingered on each other. Some laughed softly about it, some shook their heads, but Marcus only pretended not to hear. At night, lying awake, in his cabin he thought about her, her calm voice, her silver eyes, the way she looked at him during the reactor crisis, as if seeing more than just an impulsive human. One quiet evening, Marcus found her in the observation deck. The stars stretched endlessly outside, bright and cold. Lyra stood with her hands folded behind her back, her posture perfect, her gaze fixed on the shining horizon. Marcus hesitated at the doorway. He almost turned back, afraid to break the silence. But then she spoke without looking at him. "Do you know why my people love the stars?" she asked. "No," he said softly, stepping closer. "Because they never rush. They burn for millions of years, patient and eternal. To us, they are examples of how life should be, calm, lasting, unchanging." Marcus studied her face. "And humans?" She turned her silver eyes to him. "You chase the stars as if tomorrow will end. You burn bright but fast. I do not understand it, but I admire it." Marcus's heart pounded. He wanted to say everything, that she was the reason he stared at the stars, that she had become the light guiding him through space, but his courage failed him. Instead, he smiled faintly. "Maybe," he whispered. "That's why we found each other. Your patience, our fire. Together, maybe it balances." For the first time, Lyra did not hide her smile. It was soft, genuine, and it made Marcus feel as though the stars themselves had drawn closer. From that night onward, things were different. Their conversations became longer, their silences more meaningful. Lyra even began to read human literature, asking Marcus about poems and stories of love. She studied the words carefully, sometimes repeating them as if tasting something new. "Why do your stories always end with two people together?" she asked one day. "Because," Marcus said quietly, "we like to believe love wins in the end." She looked at him for a long moment, her eyes thoughtful, as if considering whether such an ending could ever be real for them. But though their bond grew strong, Marcus still carried the weight of unspoken truth. He adored her, more than he had ever cared for anyone. Yet he feared the gap between them, human and alien, impulsive and patient, fire and starlight. So he kept his secret, waiting for the right moment. Unaware that Lyra, in her own quiet way, was waiting too. The Aurora's light glided through silent space, her engines humming softly like a lullaby. For days, the ship had been traveling between systems, carrying diplomats and supplies. The crew had settled into routine, training drills, meals, and long shifts at their stations. But for Marcus Hale, routine did not quiet his restless mind. No matter how hard he tried to focus on wires, panels, and engines, one image kept returning, Lyra's silver eyes watching him with calm patience. He had hidden his feelings for too long. The weight of silence grew heavier each day until it pressed against his chest like a burden. He wanted to tell her. He needed to tell her. But fear kept his mouth shut. What if she laughed? What if she turned away? What if their friendship shattered? And yet another thought whispered louder. What if she felt the same? One evening after a long shift in engineering, Marcus walked to the observation deck. It was his favorite place on the ship. There, the wide glass panels revealed the endless sea of stars. Sometimes he came alone just to breathe, to remind himself why humanity had reached out into the void in the first place. But this time he wasn't alone. Lyra stood at the window, her tall figure outlined by starlight. Her silver robes shimmered softly, and her glowing eyes reflected the constellations. She didn't turn when Marcus entered. Instead, she spoke in her calm, melodic voice. "You always come here when your mind is troubled." Marcus froze. He hadn't realized she noticed his habits. "You can tell?" She turned slowly, her gaze meeting his. "I watch. I listen. Humans speak even when they are silent." He gave a nervous laugh and stepped closer. "Maybe. Or maybe I just like looking at stars." Lyra tilted her head. "Do you seek answers in them?" "Maybe I do," Marcus admitted softly. "They make me think about what I want, what I'm afraid of." For a long moment, silence filled the room. Only the stars spoke, burning far away. Marcus felt his chest tighten. His heart pounded, urging him forward. This was the moment. If he stayed quiet now, he would carry his secret forever. He swallowed hard, his throat dry. "Lyra." She turned fully toward him, her silver glow calm and steady. "Yes, Marcus?" The words slipped out before he could stop them. His voice trembled, but he forced himself to say it. "I've adored you for years." The silence that followed seemed endless. His breath caught, fear rising inside him like fire. He wanted to take the words back, to laugh it off as a joke. But then, Lyra laughed. It was soft at first, then warm and full, a sound like water flowing over smooth stones. Marcus blinked, stunned. Her laughter was not cruel, not mocking. It was gentle, as if she had been holding it inside for a long time. His face burned red. What? Why are you laughing?" She covered her lips lightly with her hand, her silver eyes glowing with something he had never seen before. "Because I have waited for this moment." Marcus frowned, confused. "Waited? For what?" Her laughter faded into a smile, soft and real. "For you to speak first." Marcus could only stare. "You... what?" Lyra stepped closer, her presence calm but powerful. "My people, the Aolari, believe in patience. We do not speak of feelings until the other reveals them. We wait because waiting proves devotion." His mouth opened slightly. "So all this time?" "All this time," Lyra said gently. "I have felt the same." Marcus's knees nearly gave way. Relief and shock crashed through him like a storm. "You mean, you..." "Yes." Her voice was calm, but her eyes glowed brighter. "I, too, have cared for you. I only waited for you to find the courage." Marcus ran a hand through his hair, laughing weakly. "You have no idea how many times I wanted to say it. I thought you'd never understand. And I thought you would never dare," Lyra replied softly. "Yet here you are." The tension broke, and they both laughed together, the sound mingling, like music. For Marcus, it felt like breathing after holding his breath for years. For Lyra, it was the first time she allowed her emotions to shine so openly. They stood close now, the space between them small, the stars beyond watching silently. Marcus's voice was quieter when he spoke again. "Why me, Lyra? Out of all the people in the Alliance, why a human engineer?" Her silver gaze softened. "Because you are not like others. You see beyond rules and titles. You act with heart, even when it puts you in danger. You are fire." He smiled faintly. And you're the calm that keeps me from burning out." For a long time, they simply looked at each other, no words needed. Their bond, unspoken for so long, had finally been revealed. Later that night, as Marcus returned to his cabin, he could not stop smiling. The stars outside the window seemed brighter, closer. He whispered to himself, "She feels the same. She really does." And in her own quarters, Lyra sat quietly, her silver eyes reflecting the starlight. For the first time in years, she allowed herself to dream not only of duty and patience, but of something more, something fiery, unpredictable, and deeply human. That moment on the observation deck changed everything. Their friendship had already been strong, built through trust and shared danger. But now it was something deeper. Marcus no longer carried the weight of silence. Lyra no longer carried the burden of waiting. Together they had taken the first step into something new. But as the days ahead would soon prove, love among the stars was not without trials. The galaxy was vast, and not all looked kindly on bonds between human and alien. Their journey together was only beginning. The Aurora's light sailed steadily through Alliance space. On the surface, nothing seemed different. Engines hummed, crew worked, diplomats argued about trade and treaties. But for Marcus Hale and Commander Lyra, everything had changed since that night on the observation deck. Marcus felt lighter. For years he had hidden his heart, afraid of rejection. Now he walked through the ship with a quiet smile, knowing Lyra felt the same. Their secret was no longer his alone. Yet as days passed, Marcus began to see that love among the stars was not simple. One morning, Marcus entered the cafeteria, balancing a tray of food. The crew greeted him with nods and small smiles. But when they noticed Lyra entering a few steps behind him, whispers spread across the room. "Look, the human and the Aelari again. Always together. Do you think it's true? That they're—" Marcus pretended not to hear, but the words stung. He found a seat at the corner and Lyra joined him. She sat with her usual calm grace, but her silver eyes flickered toward the whispering crew. "They question us," she said softly. Marcus shrugged. "Humans talk. They always talk." Lyra studied him. "Does it trouble you?" He forced a smile. "Not really. Let them gossip." But the truth was different. It did trouble him. He didn't want their bond to become the center of rumor. And he could not ignore that some looked at them not with curiosity, but with doubt. The doubts didn't come only from humans. During a diplomatic meeting, Lyra sat among other Aelari representatives. Marcus, assigned to monitor the room's systems, stood quietly at the back. He listened as the discussion shifted to human behavior. "Humans rush into everything," one Aelari elder said coldly. "They leap before thinking. They are too emotional to be trusted." Lyra's eyes narrowed. "Emotions can be strength. They give humans courage." Another Aelari gave her a sharp look. "You speak as if you admire them too much, Commander." The words carried weight, and Marcus felt a chill. He understood. Not all Aelari approved of her closeness with him. That evening, Marcus found Lyra alone in the meditation chamber. Soft blue lights glowed around her as she stood in silence. "You defended me today," Marcus said quietly. She opened her eyes, calm but firm. "Because it was the truth." He stepped closer. "But it cost you. They don't like it. They don't like us." Lyra's voice softened. "Do you regret telling me how you feel?" Marcus shook his head, quickly. "Never. Not for a second. I don't want to cause trouble for you." She reached out, her cool hand resting lightly on his arm. "Do not carry this alone. I chose this path as much as you did." Still, the differences between them began to show in small ways. Marcus was impulsive. When a system alarm sounded, he would rush forward, tools in hand, ready to dive into danger. Lyra, on the other hand, preferred to wait, to study the problem, to find the calm solution. One afternoon, a coolant leak sprayed steam across the engine bay. Marcus dashed forward without thinking, trying to shut the valve. Lyra called sharply, "Stop, assess first." He ignored her and twisted the valve shut. Steam burned his gloves, and he stumbled back, coughing. Lyra was at his side instantly, her voice tight with worry. "You risked yourself again." Marcus tried to laugh. It worked, didn't it? But she didn't laugh. Her silver eyes were serious. "You act without thought. That is not bravery, it is recklessness." Her words stung. He wanted to argue, but deep down he knew she was right. He acted on instinct, while she waited with patience. Their ways clashed, even as their hearts were bound. Despite the tension, their bond grew in other ways. Marcus began teaching Lyra about human stories. They sat together in the library, data pads glowing softly. He read her tales of Earth's poets, of lovers separated by distance but united by hope. Lyra listened closely, repeating lines softly as if tasting the meaning. "Humans," she said one night, "believe love can cross oceans, wars, even death. Your faith in emotion is powerful." Marcus smiled. "And you? What do the Alari believe?" Lyra folded her hands. "We believe love is tested by silence, by waiting. If it survives without words, then it is true." Marcus leaned closer, his voice gentle. "And ours survived years of silence." She met his gaze, and for a moment her calm mask softened. "Yes," she whispered. But not all moments were tender. One night, after another small disagreement, Marcus paced his cabin restlessly. "She wants me to wait. Always wait," he muttered to himself. "But I can't. That's not who I am. I want to act, to show her now." Yet even in frustration, he realized something. She wasn't asking him to stop being human. She was asking him to meet her halfway, to balance fire with patience. The next day he tried. When another system malfunction occurred, Marcus forced himself to pause. He glanced at Lyra, who was calmly analyzing the readouts. Together, they formed a plan before acting. This time, the repair was smooth, safe, and quick. Afterward, Lyra gave him a rare smile. "You waited," he grinned. "And you acted faster than usual. Maybe we're learning from each other." Her silver eyes softened. "Perhaps balance is the true strength." Weeks passed. They grew closer not just in heart but in understanding. Marcus began to see the value of patience, while Lyra allowed herself to act more boldly. Still, the whispers of others never fully faded. Some crew accepted them, smiling knowingly. Others still questioned. Some Alari watched with disapproval, but Marcus no longer carried the fear alone. Every time he looked at Lyra, calm and steady beside him, he knew their bond was worth every challenge. One evening, back on the observation deck, Marcus stood with Lyra once more. The stars stretched endlessly before them, silent witnesses to their journey. "Do you ever regret it?" he asked softly. She turned, her silver eyes glowing. "Never. The path may be difficult, but it is ours, and I would walk it with no one else." Marcus felt warmth fill his chest. He took her hand gently, their fingers intertwining. In that moment, the divide between fire and patience, human and alien, seemed smaller. Not gone, but bridgeable. Together they would face it. And though the galaxy whispered, though challenges lay ahead, Marcus knew one truth with certainty. He would never let her go. The Aurora's light arrived at Haven Station, the largest hub in that sector of Alliance space. The station floated like a shining crown above a blue-green world, its silver rings glowing with energy. Thousands of travelers, humans and aliens, passed through its halls each day. For Marcus Hale, the station was supposed to mean a short rest. The crew would resupply, diplomats would meet, and the engineers could finally relax. But fate had other plans. The trouble began during a quiet evening. Marcus was in engineering, checking the auxiliary systems, when alarms screamed across the station. Red lights flashed, sirens blared, and the comms filled with panicked voices. "This is Haven Command. Enemy fleet approaching. Unidentified. Raiders, prepare for defense." Marcus's stomach dropped. The Aurora's light was docked, half-powered during maintenance. The station itself was strong, but the raiders came fast, their ships firing before warnings could finish. Explosions rattled the walls. The sound of weapons echoed through the void. Haven Station shook like a wounded beast. Marcus rushed out, his toolkit bouncing at his side. But before he could reach the defense control room, he saw Lyra striding down the corridor, calm but fierce, her silver eyes glowing brighter than ever. "Marcus," she called, "the station's shields are failing. We must act." He nodded, breathless. "I'll head to the power relays. Without them, the shields won't last." "I will come with you," she said firmly. He opened his mouth to argue, but the look in her eyes silenced him. She wasn't only a diplomat now, she was his partner, ready to stand by his side. The relay chamber was chaos. Sparks flew, wires burned, and frightened technicians shouted orders that no one followed. The main energy core flickered weakly, unable to power both the station's shields and weapons. Marcus shoved through the smoke. "We need a manual bypass or the shields collapse in minutes." Lyra immediately moved to the control panels, her glowing fingers tracing alien codes, faster than the humans could follow. Her calm voice cut through the noise. "I can stabilize output. Marcus, reroute the conduits." He dropped to the floor, crawling under sparking cables, sweat dripping down his face. His gloves burned, but he didn't stop. Above him, Lyra guided, him with steady instructions, their voices moving together in rhythm like two parts of the same machine. Then the floor shuddered violently. An explosion shook the chamber, and a beam fell loose, crashing down dangerously close. Marcus barely rolled aside in time. Lyra gasped, reaching out. For the first time, her calm mask cracked. "Marcus!" "I'm fine," he shouted, coughing in the smoke. His heart raced, but when he saw the fear in her silver eyes, he realized she wasn't calm because she felt nothing. She was calm because she was holding everything inside. Minutes dragged like hours. Together they worked through fire, smoke, and chaos. Marcus twisted the final conduit into place. Lyra activated the bypass, her hands glowing as she pressed the alien controls. With a deep roar, the shields flared back to life. The station trembled, but it held. Outside, enemy blasts struck harmlessly against the renewed barrier. A cheer went up from the technicians. Relief filled the air, but Marcus barely noticed. He was too busy gasping for air, his arms trembling from exhaustion. And Lyra was kneeling beside him, her cool hands pressing against his burned gloves, her silver eyes full of something she had never shown so openly. "You nearly destroyed yourself again," she whispered, her voice trembling. Marcus managed a weak grin. "Guess that's what humans do." Lyra shook her head, her calm breaking fully now. "No, Marcus, that is what you do. You risk everything for others, and I cannot—" Her voice broke. "I cannot lose you." The words hung in the air. Around them, people were too busy cheering to notice. But for Marcus, everything else faded. He reached up, placing his soot-covered hand gently against her cheek. "You won't lose me. Not now. Not ever." For a long moment their eyes locked, fire meeting starlight, human impulse meeting alien patience. Then Lyra leaned closer, resting her forehead lightly against his. It was not a kiss, but it was something deeper, a promise. But the battle was not over. The raiders, desperate, launched a final strike. One ship broke through the outer defenses, crashing directly toward the docking ring where the Aurora's light was stationed. Marcus's blood ran cold. If it hits the docking ring, the whole station could collapse. Lyra's eyes hardened. "Then we must stop it." Together they sprinted to the emergency gun battery. The human gunners were injured, unable to man the turrets. Marcus slid into the seat, hands gripping the controls, while Lyra stood beside him, feeding tactical data from the sensors. "Steady," she murmured, her voice calm as the stars. "Aim 2 degrees higher. Wait for the gap." Marcus breathed hard, sweat dripping into his eyes. The raider ship roared closer, fire blazing from its engines. He almost fired too early, but her voice steadied him. Now. He pulled the trigger. Blazing shot of plasma streaked across space, striking the raider dead center. The enemy ship erupted into fire, breaking apart before it could crash. Cheers echoed again through the comms. Haven Station was saved. Later, after the battle, the station was full of praise. Crew members spoke in awe of how Marcus and Lyra had fought together, saving thousands of lives. For the first time, whispers about them were not of doubt, but of admiration. Yet Marcus cared little for the praise. What mattered was the way Lyra looked at him afterward, not as a commander, not as a diplomat, but as someone she could not imagine losing. That night, on the quiet observation deck, they stood together once more. The stars glittered beyond the glass, peaceful after the storm of battle. You know, Marcus said softly, I think we proved them wrong today. Lyra tilted her head. Who? The ones who said humans are reckless. The ones who said Ilari are too patient. Together, we saved them all. Her silver eyes softened. Yes, together. Marcus reached for her hand, and this time she did not hesitate. Their fingers intertwined, warm and steady. For once, Marcus didn't feel like fire that burned too fast, or like a human too small in the galaxy. He felt whole, balanced, with her. That night, their bond was no longer a secret. The galaxy had seen it in fire and battle, and though challenges still waited ahead, Marcus knew the truth. Their love had survived silence, fear, and war. Now nothing could break it. The battle for Haven Station was over. The scars of fire still marked the great hub, but the people within it were alive. Humans and aliens worked side by side, patching walls, carrying supplies, and tending to the wounded. For the first time, there was no hesitation, no doubt, only unity born from survival. And at the center of it all stood Marcus Hale and Lyra. They had become the story whispered across the corridors, the human engineer and the alien diplomat who had fought together and saved thousands. To Marcus, the attention was strange. He had never seen himself as a hero, just a man doing his job. But when he walked the halls now, people looked at him with admiration. Yet what mattered most was not the whispers, nor the respect. It was Lyra walking beside him, her hand sometimes brushing against his, her silver eyes shining warmer than any star. The Alliance Council convened within Haven's grand chamber. It was a hall of glass and steel, high above the world below, where representatives of dozens of species gathered. The air was tense, repairs continued, but the threat of more raids lingered. The council wanted answers, reassurance, and hope. Lyra stood at the center of the hall, tall and graceful, her presence commanding silence. Marcus stood just behind her, unsure if he belonged among such leaders, yet unwilling to leave her side. One of the elder counselors, a scaled being with eyes like amber, spoke first. The Alliance grows fearful. These raiders will test us again. Some worlds already doubt whether humans or Ilari can truly work as one. Lyra's calm voice carried through the chamber. Then let them see the truth with their own eyes. She turned slightly, her gaze falling on Marcus. His heart jumped. He realized with a sudden weight that she meant for their bond to be revealed, not hidden in shadows, not whispered in private moments, but declared before the galaxy itself. Marcus swallowed hard. His instincts screamed to hide, to step back. But he forced himself forward. The hall waited. All eyes turned to him. For once, Marcus did not feel small. He thought of the fire, the smoke, the broken cables he had held with shaking hands. He thought of Lyra's voice guiding him, steadying him, choosing him. He lifted his head. I'm Marcus Hale, a human engineer. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a politician. I'm just someone who tries to fix things when they break. His voice wavered, but he continued. And when the station nearly fell, I was not alone. I had Lyra. She believed in me when no one else did. She trusted me, and together we saved lives. He paused, his chest heavy. The words he had held back for years burned on his tongue. This was the moment, the one he had feared, the one he had dreamed of. I told her once that I adored her, he said, voice soft but carrying across the chamber. I meant it then, and I mean it now. Lyra is my partner, not just in battle, not just in duty but in life, and I will never hide that again. Gasps rippled through the chamber. Some aliens exchanged shocked looks. Others murmured in disbelief. A few humans smiled quietly, as if proud. Lyra stepped forward, standing beside him. Her silver eyes glowed brighter than ever. For many years, she said, her voice firm yet warm, I held my silence. I believed patience was strength. But, in truth, I waited because I wished to be the one to speak these words first. She turned to Marcus fully, ignoring the stares of the council, ignoring the weight of worlds watching. Marcus Hale, she said, and her voice trembled just slightly. I love you. The chamber froze. The words were simple, yet they struck deeper than any weapon. A hush fell, heavy with history breaking in real time. Marcus's breath caught. For all his courage in battle, for all his reckless bravery, nothing had ever felt as powerful as those 3 words. He smiled wide and unguarded, the kind of smile that came only once in a lifetime. I love you too, he whispered back, though the chamber heard every word. For a moment, time seemed to stop. A human and an Aelari, standing together not in secrecy but in truth. The silence broke, not with rejection, not with anger, but with applause. It began softly, a few hands clapping, a few voices cheering. Then it spread, wave after wave, until the chamber thundered with approval. Some leaders still looked unsure, but many more saw what had happened for what it truly was. Proof. Proof that humans and aliens were not destined to mistrust each other. Proof that love, strange and unexpected, could be stronger than fear. After the council ended, Marcus and Lyra walked quietly through Haven's long glass corridors. The stars shone outside, endless and bright. Marcus exhaled slowly. I didn't think I'd survive saying that out loud. Lyra glanced at him, a soft smile curving her lips. And yet you did. He chuckled, rubbing the back of his neck. Guess that's another human specialty. Doing the impossible even when it scares us. She stopped, turning fully to face him. Do you know why I laughed back when you first told me how you felt? He blinked. Because you thought I was foolish? Her silver eyes glimmered. No. Because I was already waiting for that moment. Because I had loved you for years. But I wished to be the one to say it first. When you spoke, I realized the galaxy had turned upside down before I was ready. And it was amusing. Marcus's chest tightened. He thought back to that painful day when her laughter had crushed him. And now, hearing the truth, the memory changed completely. You were waiting, he whispered. Yes, she said softly, but no longer. Now I will not wait another heartbeat. And then, without hesitation, Lyra leaned in and kissed him. It was not gentle. It was fierce, full of everything they had endured. Fear, courage, silence, and fire. For the first time, the barrier between human and Aelari shattered completely. When they finally pulled back, both were breathless. Marcus laughed softly, his forehead still resting against hers. Worth the wait, Lyra smiled. The first words of forever often are. That night, Haven Station was quiet. The fires were out, the stars peaceful once more. In the observation deck, Marcus and Lyra stood hand in hand watching the galaxy stretch before them. The future was uncertain. More battles would come, more challenges to face. But now they would face them together, not as human and alien, not as engineer and diplomat, but as two souls bound by love. And across the station, across the alliance, their story spread. Not as rumor, not as scandal, but as hope. Because sometimes, the most human thing of all was to love. And sometimes that love was what made the galaxy brighter.